his mouth, one of those two.
Gajananam Bhutanganati Sevitam Kavista Jambho Phalasara Bhakshitam Umasantam Shoka Vinashakaranam Namami Vigmeshwara Pada Pankajam. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So as usual, let me give you a quick review of last lesson. Lesson 15 we had last week. We covered the verses 18 to 25 from chapter 3. Now in these verses, Lord Krishna explained the attributes of a jnani. He didn't say that a jnani is a clean shaven person or with the ochre robes or a big beard or anything, but he said a jnani is one who has discovered himself, self-discovery. One who has discovered his inner freedom. One who is neither addicted to action or inaction. And he is nothing to gain from action nor inaction. Kaschit artha vyapashrayaha. That's what he said. In fact, a jnani is one who has jnana, self-knowledge in short. Now, smart teachers will always give some examples in order to drive home a point. And it makes the learning fun and enjoyable. If you give an example, then you understand it better because you remember the example. And Krishna, being a super smart teacher, he gives examples. He gave the example of Janaka. He also gave himself as an example. Just to show the importance. Janaka shows us the importance how by doing one's duty in the Grihasthasramam, Janaka attained his jnana. And to illustrate the importance of action, Lord Krishna gave himself as an action, that he didn't have to do anything, but he was actually performing his action, even as a driver to Arjuna. So, he talked about guna-based karma, which people enjoy. If you have got a basic inclination towards something and you do work to suit that inclination, you enjoy it. And you enjoy it, you also achieve much better. Now, I just thought about an example. Pranav is missing today. You look at the motels in the US. Amongst the 1 out of 2 motels owned by Indian. Amongst the Indian-owned hotels, almost 3/4 of them are owned by Gujaratis. And they have a natural trait of doing business and they love it. That's the reason why they are here. And they are pretty successful. Giving the same example, the Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw once addressed an audience in Gujarat. And he started talking in English and some people said, talk in Gujarati. So he said that, look, I can't talk. I said, why you can't? He's a Parsi. And Parsis, many of them talk Gujarati. So he said, I was heading an army and then there were a lot of Sikhs who had learned Punjabi. So there were a lot of Marathas. I learned Marathi. There were a lot of Nepalis, so I learned Nepali. But there was not a single Gujarati in the army, therefore I never had the opportunity to learn Gujarati. Shows the trait, that they don't fit into that. And they have realized that they will not be a suitable fit in the army, they will not be able to fight. But on the other hand, Vaisya community, they did extremely well. The Varnashramam, what he talks about Krishna, is existent here also. only not in the name of Varnasrama. Yesterday I was watching the news. You know these fires raging in the western coast? There were 3 firefighters who died in the fire. And they were interviewing the widow of one firefighter. And she was saying her husband was a 4th generation firefighter. Just from school itself he said, I want to be a firefighter. Knowing fully that his father was a firefighter, his grandfather was a firefighter, his great-grandfather was a firefighter. So it's coming down. That trait, they love doing it. You see that it is not visible, but you can see it. So, this is the deep inborn trait in people that you follow those gunas and then you feel yourself very happy. So, let's move on to lesson 16 today. So, quick overview. In this lesson, Lord Krishna continues with speaking about the qualities and duties of Vijnani. He also points out the weakness of the ignorant, the people who do not know, who are Ajnanis. And he's providing a very, very pragmatic advice in one verse, which is really summing up the Karma Yoga. And also talks about the advantage of Karma Yoga. So this is what we are going to see in this lesson today. Okay, moving on. Na buddhi bedam janayeda.
Na buddhi bedam janayeda.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Joshaye sarva karmani.
Joshaye sarva karmani.
Vidvan yukta sabacharana.
Vidvan yukta samacharana.
Is verse number 26 we have. No, you will find as you go along, many people find that Gita as giving contradictory advices, seemingly contradictory, but they are not really contradictory. If you look at the deep meaning, you will find they really mean the same thing, but interpretation vary. You know, people interpret it partially or people interpret it out of context and invent new theories. Sensational kind of. A couple of days back, somebody in the internet sent me an email saying that post-death rituals are not required. And in fact, Lord Krishna endorses it. He got some verse in this Gita and said this is what it is. But it's totally wrong because the Shastras do provide it. And in fact, every religion has its own rituals. May not be same as elaborate as we have, but they have. So, interpreting it only from a narrow angle will lead you to wrong results. It's very important because you should not think tomorrow, what is this Gita is telling like this? But at the same time, it is telling something different. You will find it even in this Karma Yoga. But they are not really different. You have to understand that they mean one and the same thing if you really go deep into it. You have to also see whom Gita is addressing. You know, communications, you have to be clear on the kind of audience you have got. What type? Are they children? Are they adults? Only then you can frame it accordingly. When a child is like Vivek runs across the road, you say don't run because you may end up colliding with something. But we don't say the same thing to Rajesh. He runs marathon. Say don't run. Two different things, you know. They are two different people. You have to address them differently. And a child does not know many things and people cannot apply the same yardstick for a child. My mom used to say when I was maybe 2 years old, somebody presented a 2 rupee note. 2 rupee note in this is very great money, you know. And I tore it and said, "Rendu kashi, two notes." How will the child know the value of money? You don't expect the same thing with an elderly one. So you should know what kind of advice should be given and how and to whom. So here, this particular verse, this illustrates this point, that you cannot and you should not preach Jnana Yoga out of context to somebody who is not ripe enough to understand. You can't preach it to a college student because he has got a different viewpoint. And Vedas are not against leading normal life. Dharmartha Kama Moksham is definitely there. In fact, even later portion of Gita, Krishna says, Dharma Viruddha Bhuteshu Kamosmi Bharatarshava, which means I am in the form of legitimate pleasures too. He is existing in that. So the right thing is to pursue what is appropriate to your age. When you are a student, you have to pursue education. So in this one, he tells about Vidwan, it means a wise man. Now I am going to give you the sequence because if I start translating it word by word, you may not find the meaning connecting properly. Vidwan means a wise man. Na janayet. Na janayet means should not create. Buddhi bedam. Buddhi bedam is confusion in the mind. To whom? Ajnanam. To those who are ignorant. Karma sanginam. Who are attached to action. Samacharan is performing. Sarva karmani, of all his duties and actions. Yuktaha. Yuktaha means with discipline. Joshayet means you should inspire them. Inspire them. So what is the gist of this? A wise man should not create confusion in the minds of ignorant people who are not knowledgeable, who are really attached to action, efficiently performing all their duties with discipline. You should really inspire them, not enforce. Now this is a form of advice to leaders in the society who serve to guide the people, and while performing his own duties, maybe a jnani, he should not plant seeds of confusion in the minds of people who are not appropriate. Advice is different for different people at different ages. A doctor may prescribe some medicine for you. He may give a different medicine for somebody else because the diagnosis that he has is different. But you can't go and ask the doctor why you gave that medicine to him and we have same ailments. Why you gave different medicine to me? I had my father's colleague who was about 6 feet 3 inches, weighing some 250 pounds. When he used to go to the factory, people would call him Ganpati Papa Moria because he was such a fat person. So one day he fell sick and he was rushed to military hospital. You know, military hospital, they have wonderful luxury kind of treatment. So he was feeling happy that he is going to have nice things to eat there and he can relax. So then he was put in a nice room and all that, and a nurse came with a big plate. And there were 2-3 tablets in that. He said, you must take this. The doctor has told that you should take this. So then he says, should I take it before lunch or after lunch? And the nurse smiles at him and tells him, this is the lunch. These 3 tablets are lunch for you. So they are trying to cut down his food intake. So he can't misinterpret the doctor's advice saying that the other person next to me is eating all kinds of stuff but I had only tablets. That is how it is. So advice should be given properly. And this is a beautiful way of putting it because there are a lot of Swamijis who kind of lure you into Jnana Yoga, but it is not really appropriate for everyone. unless you have that maturity to absorb it. Therefore, it is not advisable. This is very, very clearly made from this particular verse. So let's move on to the next one. Prakrite kriyamanani
Prakrite kriyamanaani
gunaihi karmani sarvasah
gunaihi karmani sarvashah
ahankara vimoodatma
ahankara vimoodatma
kartahamiti manyate.
kartahamiti manyate.
This is really addressed to the ajnani or the ignorant. The earlier verse was intended for jnani. Now he is shifting here and telling what an ajnani do. Ajnani doesn't mean he is an absolute fool or anything, but he is not all that knowledgeable like a jnani is. He is less knowledgeable, and therefore he is called ajnani. In each of us, it is said there are two eyes. Eye. When you say the normal eye, one eye, it is sometimes called as ego or ahankara. It is the feeling that I am doing everything, I am the doer. That is the feeling which a normal eye has. The other eye is a superior eye, which is hidden. We discussed about it in the earlier part of chapter 2 about Atma. That is the inner consciousness. It is also called by the name of Purushaha, not Purushaha, Purushaha. So the aim of all spiritual sadhana that you do is to seek that real I and somehow submerge this first part of the I. Sandhyavandanam, those of you who do, Asovadityo Brahma Brahmaiva Ahamasmi. Morning you say that, right? That you are yourself feeling that you are Brahma. So the Krishna in this particular verse is ignorant, will always remain in the lower end of the knowledge frame because they get deluded by this thing called ahankara. Aham means me in Sanskrit. So that is the big difference between a jnani and ajnani. Now how does this ahankara come? That's what he explains here. Prakrite kriyamanani. Prakrite means of Prakriti. Prakriti has got different meanings in different contexts. Nature is the general meaning. Prakriti is nature. But in this particular case, it is constituted to be Maya or delusion. Gunaha. Sarvasaha means under all conditions. Karmani, all actions. Kriyamanani are done. Gunaihi, by the gunas. Where do these gunas come from? Prakritehe, of Prakriti. These gunas are acquired from Prakriti or nature or through Maya. Ahankara vimoodatma. Ahankara is one who is deluded by ahankara. Manyate is thinking, is things. Karta aham iti. I am the doer. He thinks that I am the doer. I did this, I did that. So many people claim that I did it. So, under all conditions, all actions are done by the gunas, which are created by Prakriti, of Prakriti. And one whose mind is deluded by ahankara thinks that I am the doer. So, the real thing is that he doesn't realize that ahankaram in him is making him do it. You are going to have kamo karshit javam. Kamo karshit bhanyur karshit. The meaning is, it is not I. Kamo karshit meaning it is a desire which led me to do many things. Manyura karshit, manyur is anger. It is anger which caused me to do it. Now, these are inborn from Prakriti. Gunaihi. No, you can say how it comes, that is a big story, but it is there. So the ignorant man, he thinks that I am the doer. So that is a big difference between the jnani and ajnani. Jnani doesn't think that I am the doer, he thinks that somebody else is really performing on his behalf. And he is only an instrument, he is a tool. Whereas the ajnani thinks I am the doer, I did everything. So that's a big difference. You know, the ajnani doesn't realize the higher self in him. It's unseen. He's not able to see. For example, you are not able to see your Atma, so you can ask the question, where is it? I can't see it. And if I don't see it, I don't believe it. There was a very interesting discussion between a great atheist and a great political personality. He was very intelligent. I'm not naming them, but it's a true discussion. The atheist started accusing the intelligent man, what is it you people believe in all this? It's all superstition. Nothing is true. Then why do you say that? Can you show me God? Intellectual says, no, sorry, I can't show you. Then I can't believe it. So you mean to say you don't believe anything which you cannot see? Yeah, of course. If I can't see it, I can't believe it. Then the intellectual asked me, can you show me your brain? Obviously you can't show the brain, that's why you have no brain. So, you have people who are ignorant of the unseen and they don't believe because it is not there, but not realizing that your intellect is limited. What we have got is a very small portion. So, going on further, Tattvavittu Mahabaho
Tattvavittu Mahabaho
Gunakarma Vibhagayoho
Gunakarma Vibhagayoho
Guna Guneshu Vartanta
Guna Guneshu Vartanta
Iti Matva Na Sajjate
Iti Matva Na Sajjate.
Now from the 21st verse onwards, Krishna talks about the duties of a jnani who could be a grihastha. In fact, I just saw one jnani who is a grihastha come from Chennai, in whose presence we did his bhajan about an hour ago. He was blessed by Kanchi Periva himself and is called Kamakshi Swamigal because he is very close to Kamakshi. And he has just done some Kumbhabhishekam in Michigan and he has come here to Chicago. So we performed and he spoke beautifully, very nicely. So there could be jnanis who are grihasthas, not necessarily who have attained sannyasa. And this grihastha should serve as a role model. This is what we saw about. Therefore, he must exhibit certain qualities and some lifestyles which others will emulate. Now, having spoken about the ahankara and the ignorance in the previous verse, Krishna now talks in this verse about ahankara in a jnani. Even he is not free from it. Though no, even the enlightened one, but the only difference is it is not significant. It is existing in very small portion. Whereas for the ajnani, it is existing in a big measure. This is probably a streak. So here he is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho. Mahabaho means mighty army. A great hero. Now, a hero can not only fight an army, but he can also save himself from the dangers of getting killed. So, Tattva Vittu means a master hero. We can say he is a knower of the truth. Like in the real army, he knows what are the strengths and weaknesses of the enemy and is able to protect himself from being killed. At the same time, he is able to attack the other person because he knows the weaknesses, the knower of the truth. Tattva Vittu. Tattva Vittu Mahabaho Gunakarma Vibhagayoho of gunas and their functions. Sajjate, na sajjate means he remains detached. Matva, with the understanding, it is that gunaha is gunas, which means the sense organs. Vartante means functioning. Guneshu among gunas, which is sense objects. Vartante, guneshu. So he addresses Arjuna and says, "O Arjuna, Mahabaho, mighty am, the knower of the truth of gunas and their functions remains detached with the understanding that gunas function amongst sense objects." What it means is one who is a jnani, he also knows that when you have a desire, if there is an object and your gunas get attracted towards that object. So there are two gunas here. Guneshu is sense objects and gunas is sense organs. So even the jnanis are not free from that little insignificant ahankaram or desire. I'll give you one example. Mahapariva, he was only taking bhiksha, whatever is offered, he will take it. Once somebody brought kire, spinach, and he gave it. Mahapariva naturally told the kitchen people to take it away, and they cooked it and gave it to him. And he ate it, he liked it. Next day also the same person came and gave the same thing. They cooked the same thing, he ate again. So 2-3 days it happened. And the 4th or 5th day he didn't come. And Mahapariya asked the person who was cooking, "Hey, what happened? The person didn't come or what? There's no spinach." So he didn't come for 3 days. Following that, for 3 days, Mahapariya never ate. Full upvasam. And people are wondering why. He didn't say anything. After a couple of days, when people asked why you are not eating at all, you are self-inflicting yourself hunger. And he says, I am a sannyasi, I am not supposed to have any desire. That spinach, which was cooked, I liked it. And when the same thing was served 2nd or 3rd day, I liked it even more. So when it didn't come, I asked a question why he didn't come. Obviously out of a desire to eat it. Even that is wrong. So I corrected myself by this upvasam. Who will do it? He was giving a punishment to himself because that little desire was there. He said, even that desire I should have. As sannyasi, I should take whatever is given to me. So, even jnanis have that little streak of what you call ahankaram or desire. And that kind of maya, it shrouds them. And therefore, they have this little thing. So, he is giving a caution about even the jnanis have this little streak. So, in this particular case, Krishna is advising Arjuna that even if you are a great hero and all that, you have the little bit of confusion in you, that I am doing it. That should not be there. As a real knower of truths. So these days you have a lot of these management books, and there is that book called How to Swim with Sharks and Not Be Eaten Alive. The title of the book. So you have to keep on fighting, tirelessly fight with samsara sagaram, and yet not get yourselves swallowed by something. So he is giving a caution to Arjuna. So later on also there is a story of what Arjuna felt that he won the war by himself, and Krishna gives him a lesson that you didn't do it. You know, the Ratham in which Krishna was Sarathi, he told Arjuna, get down immediately. Arjuna didn't feel, I don't know, war is over, I won it, I have done everything, and then you are asking me to get down very fast. Instead of Sarathi getting down, he jumped out. The next moment Krishna also came out, and the Ratham itself got destroyed in no time. Became a powder. So then Arjuna says, what is this? He says, you felt you have done everything. You know, there is a flag on top of your chariot. It is the Hanuman. He and I were taking all the load. You were only shooting arrows. What about all the incoming arrows and the shots that I was taking, he was taking it. So if you had stayed and you were saying, I am doing it, if I had gotten down, you would have been destroyed by now. So fortunately, I asked you to jump out immediately, so that's so shame. So that was a lesson to Arjuna, that he was not the doer. But actually, he was shielded very well. So it's a lesson that you should have that humility in you and not say that I am the doer. So let's go on to the next verse, verse 29. Prakrite guna sammudaha sajjante guna karmasu tan akritsna vido mandan krishna vinna vichalayet. Now, this is a very important slokam. It's a real pragmatic advice from Lord Krishna. Now, I say pragmatic because you're going to really love this. What kind of an advice a jnani should give a man who is ajnani or who are having incomplete knowledge? Let's take an average person. He tells the jnani, don't ask them to renounce what they are doing. Don't ask them to stop action and come into the path of truth or path of self-realization. And ask them to take sannyasa. I know a lot of people get converted these days, especially if they are in a state of frustration. There are lots of Swamijis who come and say, alright, I'll solve all your problems, come here. I will give you upadesham. I will give you this and that, you become a sannyasi. And out of frustration, some people also become. It is not the end of the problems. On the contrary, it may be starting new problems for them. There is no doubt karma is a reason for attachment. But the same karma only should help you to mitigate that ahamkara and soften you up. And that is a sign of wisdom. After you keep on working and you become mature, you get knowledge, only then you go into that path. Not because some jnani so-called tells you, you take sannyasa straight away. It is not the right kind of advice. You know, I had a relative of mine who was a very senior government officer. And as a government officer, people used to tremble before him. I was just reading last night how General Thimbaya got scared because of Krishna Menu when he was a defense minister. They could never get along. So likewise, there were a lot of people who used to tremble. Kushwant Singh, who also worked in High Commissioner in London, under Krishna Menon, used to say that people used to tremble before him. That's what is expected. So this government officer, he was such a terror, and he retired someday. And he retired. One of his deputies was a relative of mine, and he came and told me that this person used to roar like a lion. Now he's walking like a lamb. These are the words. He used to roar like a lion, now he's walking like a lamb. What brought about the change? Same person. He had no power anymore. He was not in that position. That made him mature and become practical. So that stage, you can see after retirement only this came. So there are stages in people when a jnani should not advise him to take to sannyasa. So here is the practical advice. Guna sammudaha means those who are deluded by the gunas of prakrites or prakriti. Sajjante, get attached. Guna karmasu, to the actions of the organs. Krishna vido, Krishnavit is a man of complete knowledge. Na vichalayet. Now vichal means actually creating turbulence. It should not unsettle. Tan mandan. Mandan, நம்ம மண்டூன்னு சொல்லுவோம் தமிழ்ல. Same thing, it's come from there. Mandan means those immature people. Mandan is manda buddhiன்னு சொல்றது இல்லையா? It is not mature, immature people. Akrishna vido. Akrishna vido is of incomplete knowledge. So those who are deluded by the gunas of prakriti, they get attached to the actions born of gunas. A man of complete knowledge like a jnani should not unsettle those people, those immature people who have incomplete knowledge. You can't go and tell them, shake them up and say, you become a sannyasi. So it's an advice given to jnanis really, that you should not do this. The sannyasa is not for everybody. And one who has got knowledge should not confuse somebody who is a ajnani. Na vichalaya, should not shake him up. Should not disturb him and telling him to. That is why you have to be very careful when you follow some Swamijis who are talking in very high philosophical plane which you are not able to understand. You do not have the maturity to absorb it. And such a person should advise not renunciation, but tell you to follow your actions. In due course of time, he will become wiser. That is why you have this Trayambakam Mejamake Sugantim Pushtivardhanam Urvaruka Bandhanan Mrityo Mukshiyamam Amritat. Urvarukam means what you know? Cucumber. You know the difference between ordinary fruits like mango or apple or oranges and urvarukam? When a mango becomes ripe, it will fall down from the tree. In other words, the fruit falls down. The tree remains there only. The ripe cucumber is not like that. The cucumber stays in the same place. It is only the parent vine that moves away. The cucumber lies in the same place. So when you get enlightenment, it is compared to that you should have a detachment where you don't move away, the objects go away. The objects which gave birth to the desires in you, they go away. You stay where you are because you become ripe. That is why you have Urvarukam Bandhana. Like Urvarukam, Muchyate, I would like to get liberated. That is a beautiful verse. So, this particular verse is a pragmatic advice from Krishna to the jnanis, don't just confuse younger people and lead them into the path of sannyasa or renunciation. Let them do what they want. Let's go on to the next one. Mayi sarvani karmani
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि
sanyasya adhyatma chetasa
संयस्य अध्यात्मचेतसा
sanyasya adhyatma chetasa
संयस्य अध्यात्मचेतसा
nirashir nirmamo bhutva
निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा
yuddhasva vigatajvaraha.
युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः.
So this is also an important verse because Krishna is really summing up the Karma Yoga in this particular verse. Because it covers different aspects or requisites of Karma Yoga in just one single verse. We'll see what those requirements are. But the essence of this whole slokam is, O Arjuna, perform your duty as a Karma Yoga without specific expectations and without worry. Now it may sound to be familiar what he has been talking about, but there is more to it. You know, there are 5 different qualities expected of a jnani. 5 different. And this is a requirement what he is trying to explain in this verse. I'll tell you briefly what it's all about. The first quality is vivekam. That's why we got vivek. What does vivekam means?
Wisdom.
No, discrimination. Vivekam means discrimination between one another, compare. To know that spiritual pursuit is the primary goal in life, life becomes more meaningful with it and purposeful only when you pursue it with a devoted mind. Adhyatma chetasa. Adhyatma chetasa is here. The first line, last word. Adhyatma chetasa is with the devout mind. It does not mean that you leave out dharmartha kama pursuit. They are required. But they are only the means, not an end. You must understand that. Nowhere Krishna says you go to Himalayas. No. That's why I say it's very pragmatic, because he says you doing what you like. You do pursue your regular job or whatever you are doing. Be in family life. But give importance to spiritual pursuit also. Adi Shankaracharya wrote a beautiful book called Viveka Chudamani. When you get time, you should read it. In fact, we can talk about it. Viveka Chudamani. It's actually a jewel. Chudamani is a jewel, on Vivekam, on discrimination. What is a priority in life? You should decide. That is Vivekam, discrimination. That is the first quality. The second is a mindset or attitude of everything is Brahmarpanam, Ishvaram. Offering or dedicating whatever you do, the results of it, Sarvani Karmani, all the actions to Bhagavan. He says, Sarvani Karmani, all actions. Mai means to me. Offer all these actions to me. Nirashi. There is a word called Nirashi here, right? Second line, first word. Nirashi. Ashi means something you like. Nirashi means not worried about the results. Nirashamnu Sulba. No, you should, like management, you should plan, act, review, and then do whatever you want. But despite all the plans and all the development of science, all the technology that you got, most actions are dependent upon variables on which you have no control. Like the air show we witnessed last week. We were all watching from Navy Pier very happily. Everything was moving smoothly. Air show, brilliant. Oh, what technology. They are going in formations, going up and down and so on. But you know what happened, right? You didn't know. Two people jumped out. Two people jumped out there because, I don't know what's the reason. One of them collided with another one and he landed on a building and died. Other person escaped with the injuries. It was shown in the television. Now, even they had the video camera, when this person was jumping out. They had video. People have taken pictures of it. Even 2 or 3 seconds before, the man didn't know what his fate is going to be. He's an experienced pilot. You can see many examples of this. That you have no control on many variables. 90% of the actions you have no action. Today there is a storm, you have no control on it. Today there is some stoppage en route, you have no control on it. I came on the way, the level crossing was stopped, I had no control on it. Right? You look at it, many things you have no control. Yet you try to, that's it. So, Nirashi is that one. When it happens that way, not worried about that result because it is not within your control. You must understand that. Fourth point, Nirmamaha. It says Nirmamaha, right? Second word in the second line. Mamaha means what?
Self.
It's mind. Possession. Sense of possession. Mamaha. Nirmamaha means? Not possession. The sense of no possession, without possession. Often you will find people taking credit for whatever they do. If something is successful, I did it. Right? You can see that. Something goes wrong, oh my God, he messed it up. They blame somebody else. And there are always some scapegoats in any organization, anywhere. Credit will be taken if it is successful. The blame will be taken by somebody else if it doesn't work. And a superior who will make sure that any document is signed by 3 people. His boss and his subordinate. His name will be in the middle. So if something goes wrong, he can blame either the subordinate or the boss. Whichever it is. So it is a very interesting thing, We had a manager, my father used to say, he had a manager. You go and tell him anything, sir, that valve in plant 2 is leaking. He say, I know about it. Then next day he goes and tells him, sir, the fan in plant number 2 has suddenly stopped working. Oh, I know about it. Anything you say is I know about it. So one day my dad went and said, please tell me what you don't know so I can tell you that. So there are people who say, I know about it, I know everything. If there is something going on very well, I know about it. Something goes wrong, I knew about it, he will make a mess. So the blame goes. So that is the 4th quality of saying not possessiveness. I don't. And lastly, the last word in the second line, Vigat Jwaraha. Jwaram means, what is Jwaram? Jwara undurtun jwara. Another
That's a fever.
fever.
Correct.
Fever means heat. In Telugu also it says Jwaram.
Yes.
Jwaram. It is coming with Sanskrit word Jwaram. Jwaram is heat. When you feel somebody, it's hot, it's fever. It's also used in different terms when you say, saw बहुत garam hai. The peon comes and tells, abhi mat jao, saab bahut garam hai. What does it mean?
Very angry.
Very angry. Don't we say hot topic of the day? Right? We also say two people had a very heated argument. It's all relating to heat. The boss is angry. In Tamil, romba tension aitare. You say the tension, no? You say that. So here, Jwaram really refers to the heat, tension or anxiety. So this advice is saying that don't get tense and don't be anxious. You can always say, how can it be like that? I'm doing so many things, I have to get worried. What should I do? They are saying that if Muhammad doesn't go to mountain, mountain has to come to Muhammad. If you don't like something, you better change it. And if you can't change it, better like it. In good old days, they used to marry, arrange marriages, young people. After marrying, they'll start liking each other. Before that, they don't even know each other. So, if you can't change it, better like it. If you can change it, change it. So, summing up this Karma Yoga, he says 5 different aspects. Sanyasya is offering Sarvani Karmani, all actions, my, unto me. Adhyatma Thetasa is with the devout mind. Yuddhasva, fight. Nirashi, without expectations. Nirmama, without feeling yourself possessive, without possessiveness. Bhutva Vigadvaraha, without anxiety. So Krishna here he says to Arjuna, offering all actions unto me with a devoted mind. Krishnarpanam. Fight without expectations, without the feeling that you are doing it, everything is mine, without the feeling of possessiveness, and without anxiety about the result, what is going to happen. You may win, you may not win. Don't worry too much about it. So, these 5 qualities, he says, are essential for Karma Yoga. And he is advising all these 5 in just one verse, which is really summing up of Karma Yoga. So, you have to need to decide priority in your goals, like how much of spiritual growth you want to have, how much you want to devote for your actions. Maybe 5%, 10%, fine. Offer everything as Krishna Arpanam, which we do every day. That developing the attitude of acceptance, that everything happens for good. Humility, that I don't possess everything. I am not the owner of everything. I came with nothing, I will live with nothing. Therefore, there is no question of me being the possessor. Today, maybe legally I may be the owner, but it doesn't mean anything. And lastly, the feeling of samatvam, that if I don't like something, I try to change it. If I don't like my job, you change my job. But what suppose you can't do it? You can't change the job. You better learn to like it. Only then you will be at peace. There may be 100 different problems at work. But still, if it is only means you have to survive, better learn to like it. So that is the final advice given me. So this is a beautiful verse which sums up the entire Karma Yoga. So I think we'll stop at this point because it's already more than an hour. And we'll carry on the next class. Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam
Govinda Govinda